Welcome to 2024, and I'm very excited about today's episode. We have a special guest on, but before we get started, Dr. Jess, what is in your glass?
So I'm working on my water. So I've got like a little bit of, a little bit of lemon kind of floating around in there to make it taste even that much better. And so I'll end up drinking way more of it when I just add a little bit to it. So Dr. Bobby, what's in your glass?
I'm working on water as well, trying to stay hydrated and get those ounces in.
Mm-hmm. And with us today, we have a special guest, Dr. Patrick. So before you introduce yourself, Dr. Patrick, what's in your glass?
My glass has a cup of mint tea this morning. So
There
it's
we
a nice
go.
chilly
Yeah.
morning here and it's warming me up.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. So, Dr. Patrick, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have been a naprapath for 40 years. I've been in practice, lived this type of a lifestyle for more than 50 years. My belief in food and nutrition is food is medicine, right? And that's really how I've looked at my life. I have an uncle that was a naprapath, so he was the only doctor I knew as a kid. So when I was young and I didn't feel good, I would go get treatments, or I would, go to him to feel better. He'd recommend foods, he'd recommend herbs, he'd recommend, different teas. So I had a real privilege in life to be able to grow up around that and with that. So, I really kind of took it into my life. Like I said, I've been a naprapath for 40 years. I went to the Chicago College of Naprapathy, graduated in 1983. I practiced in Illinois for over 20 years. And then I moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico. And when I moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico, we opened a school of naprapathic medicine here. And we became the first and the only naprapathic school to be accredited in the United States. And that just happened a couple of years ago. So this profession is, an old profession. Naprapathic medicine started right alongside chiropractic medicine. A lot of people don't realize that. But, naprapaths are connective tissue specialists. The difference between us and chiropractors is we focus on the connective tissue that pulls bony structure out of alignment and treat that versus forcing bony structure into alignment. So, we believe, we are anti-inflammatory medicine. My book is anti-inflammatory medicine. We increase circulation, decrease inflammation, both metabolically and manually. So that's my lifestyle. My life's devoted to this healthcare, and we've graduated in New Mexico over 50 naprapaths already prior to accreditation. And now the accreditation is in place. We're working on financial aid, and we want to see a real, kind of a surge of naprapathic care out there. And it's
Absolutely.
happening here in New Mexico. I just got us licensed in Nevada. We'll be opening a school in Nevada next year or this year. It's 2024 now. And we're moving forward in integrative health is what we call it. We don't call it alternative. It's alternative is something different. Health is health. And we integrate ourselves into the medical framework. I believe that naprapaths or all manual therapists really should be the front line of neuromusculoskeletal pain. It's almost insane for people to go, and I say this and I always get pushback, but for somebody to go to a medical doctor for neuromusculoskeletal pain is kind of like a crapshoot. The likelihood that you're going to come out of there with some medication, and some medication that may addict you, is getting higher and higher all the time. And really they don't have the answers. If it's not medically oriented, they don't know how to, bring bony structure back into alignment, nor do they really believe that that might be a problem for low back pain or neck pain or shoulder pain or headaches, or digestive problems for that matter. So, we are a frontline healthcare. The number 2 and 3 reason people go and see a medical doctor, right? Do you know what that is? You probably do. It's joint pain and back pain, right? All right, so what we have a shortage of medical doctors in this country. Why on earth would we be sending people with neuromusculoskeletal pain to a medical doctor, okay, when there's tons of physical therapists and tons of acupuncturists and tons of chiropractors and, naprapaths out there that are addressing these, treating the cause, not just the symptoms, right, of neuromusculoskeletal pain. And, it's a pretty profound shift that has to happen in medicine right now, and when I did the legislative work in Nevada in 2023 to get Naprapaths licensed there. And really that was my position. You have a healthcare shortage here. You have a doctor shortage here in Nevada, anywhere, but I was talking to the legislature there. And for them to not start shifting the focus of neuromusculoskeletal pain away from the doctor's offices, the medical doctor offices, and into the hands of therapists that can really address this is a little bit of insanity. So
As you're speaking to my heart, I just finished a fellowship in orthopedic manual physical therapy. And one of the things we did a lot of reading about research. And one of the big things was low back pain and the research on the doctor's knowledge and ability to treat it, and how it was crazy, but it was 75%, 80% failed. A neuro or muscular, just a test to like on education, they failed, and they looked at treatment, and in this study specifically, they're comparing physical therapists to just your family doctors. And physical therapists were able to diagnose and treat back pain with less medication, with less imaging, more efficiently than a medical doctor. It was just very interesting, but our healthcare is still very much on you go see your medical doctor first.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the uphill battle that we're fighting, but here comes the studies. You guys are looking at this now, I mean, we're going to see unfortunately, we won't see the monumental shift until the money changes, right? I mean, once somebody comes in and disrupts, before the pandemic, lots of things were different, but before the pandemic, Microsoft, Chase, and Google, I believe, was coming together to form an insurance company, okay? And they were going to base their insurance company on healthcare, not disease care, healthcare, right? And based, what's that?
What a concept.
Yeah, right? Well, but again, we're saying that like but that's what we're in, we're managing disease, that's what this whole healthcare system is. We manage disease. We manage disease with medication. We manage disease, without really giving the importance of food as your medicine, not medication. I mean, I don't think, a headache is a shortage of acetaminophen. I mean, it's just, it doesn't work that way. But we have got to make the shift, the fundamental shift, to make people understand that you've got to take health into your own hands. And until the outcome based and the money changes, until the big insurance companies see that they're going to save money, this is never going to shift, right? Because this is where we're at. So somebody has got to come in and disrupt. So I was really excited that these insurance companies were coming in and doing this and basing it on healthcare. That project, I haven't heard much about it since the pandemic. They scrapped it. And I'm really hoping that one of these big companies will come out again and see the importance of it. And I think that, the millennials are going to drive this, because they're starting to understand, and they're not taking, just, little answers and being kind of pushed to the side. They want real answers. And, that's where we have to see this whole healthcare system moving.
Yeah.
Well, that's sad.
It is. I think it's happening, but it's taking time. There's med share plans where people are kind of going off of big insurance and going into like more medical sharing, where they drive their own. They can go out of network. They can see whoever they want to see. There's not authorizations and things that they have to deal with, and it's starting to drive the I'm the leader of my own health and my own ship, and I will choose who I want to see, and I will see them however long I want to see them. Like, you're not going to tell me I can only do physical therapy for 10 visits and then I'm done, when I've got something massive going on. And so it's just like smaller right now, you know.
Well, it is smaller right now, and I mean we are going to see it. I agree with you, but I've been saying this for 40 years too.
Yeah.
It's getting better. We're
Yeah.
getting more people, and truly it has. You know, I mean, you know, I've seen such a monumental shift in people's knowledge of taking care of themselves, and even in the grocery stores. I mean, every grocery store in America has got organic foods now. You know, I mean, it wasn't like that, you know, 40 years ago. When I lived in Chicago, there was one health food store, and it was in Evanston, Illinois. Okay. And it was back in the 70s. And I used to drive, you know, almost an hour to get to this health food store who had organic produce and had some organic foods, you know. I mean, there was no ordering online, or, you know, there was nothing out there back at that time. And now it's readily available. People are and I look at grocery carts all the time in grocery stores, and I see moms, you know, really, you know, putting foods in that they're raising their kids on now, and it's going to make a difference, you know. It's definitely going to make a difference. So we're on the path. It's just going to take time.
I have a little one. She's 6 months, and I just started. She's eating, so I'm trying to make all of her own food instead of buying, you know, the pre-processed. But even then, because my mom, obviously, I grew up in the 80s, or was born in the 80s, and that's when Gerber and all of the prepackaged formula was big then.
Right.
And even my mom noticed, like, when she starts to look, she's like, why don't you give this food? And I'm like, because I want to make it. I want it to be like a healthier. I want to know what's in it. But even then, she's noticed there's a lot more like organic options.
Yeah,
Even
there is. I mean, I mean, you got these companies coming out now that have, you know, you have the option of going and buying, you know, I think it's Earth's Best. They have a, you know, a wonderful line of organic baby foods, you know, and they put care into it. And, you know, so some women, some men don't have the time to make their food, you know, and that was, you know, always a problem for me as I was growing into this, because I had to prepare everything, you know, and you know, sometimes you go hungry because I didn't want to eat what I could, and I couldn't prepare what I wanted to eat, you know, in a timely manner. So, but now it's no matter where I travel to, no matter where I go, even in airports now. I mean, I went to I was in the Denver airport the other day, and they had this food to table vending machine. And it was like, oh my God, right? It was all organic foods. It was all hand prepared. And there was a line, you know, it was like, all right, you know, things are shifting. People are understanding it, you know?
well, and the more we as consumers ask for it, the more we put our money into that instead of the other, the more that we will see come out with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, well, it's nice to talk to people who understand, and I have to convince them of this. It's usually
exactly. And fighting that fight and just continuing to raise the awareness and saying, hey, this is a topic that deserves attention and you deserve it. It's not somebody else. It's you deserve this, and you should want more, you know, out of your healthcare system. And, you know, one of the big things that we do talk about on this podcast is nutrition. We talk about a lot of things on this podcast, but nutrition is one of them, because it's something that Dr. Bob and I have had to learn a lot about, because it's not something we didn't learn this in school. This wasn't something that we necessarily talked about, and the value of what food does for your body and how your body functions. So in this episode, and, you know, we're kind of kickstarting 2024 with like, let's get started with this mindset of goal setting and really think about, like, in these subtopics. So last week we talked about movement and exercise and goal setting in 2024. For this episode, we really want to dive into nutrition and what's the why. So that's always our number one thing. If you're setting a goal and you really want to get invested into something, what's your why behind it? Because there's no point in setting a goal if you don't have a why. So Dr. Patrick, when it comes to nutrition, this is like a very open-ended question, but like, what's your why when it comes to nutrition?
Well, you know, I'm going right back to food is medicine.
Yep.
Okay. And I tell people, I don't recommend any specific diet. I recommend that you buy the highest quality foods that you can purchase. Okay. Whether you're a vegetarian, whether you're, a pescatarian, whether you only eat meat, you got to make sure that you're getting pasture raised, grass fed, organic foods bought from the source, right? You got to be able to, if we can support the farmers and the ranchers that are taking the time to grow their foods and restore the soils, we are going to make this a better country. Not only are we going to help us, right, get healthy, we're going to help the planet at the same time. I don't know. I'm a big Shark Tank fan. I don't know if you guys ever watch Shark Tank or not,
I've
but
seen it. Yep.
they always have a, they seem to go towards the companies that have a purpose, right? And have a mission, Bombas gives socks away, right? That was a big Shark Tank. What about a mission that you eat the foods that take care of you, that make you healthy, that take care of ranchers and farmers, that, restore and grow the foods that take care of the planet? Because if we could start, collecting the carbon again and stop poisoning the soils, we're going to stop poisoning the planet, So that's the why. The why is we got to leave something, for the kids. You got a 6-month-old, right? We got to leave something for these kids, and we've got to leave a legacy of, it's just not fast food, and it doesn't make any difference what you eat, right? Because, it's out there. I mean, we have to, make people understand that you are what you eat, and you truly, will benefit from it, or you will, have negative impacts from it. And, it's just that simple. And just how you found out that doctors don't have really any information or knowledge about neuromusculoskeletal pain, low back pain. They have no idea about nutrition either, and these are the most important things that we can do on a daily basis for ourselves. And people don't have that, coming to them. There's got to be a mentor in a healthcare system that, mentors them and, take care of yourself, eat good foods. People ask me all the time, have you been vaccinated? Right? I get that question, especially through the pandemic. My answer is I vaccinate myself every day, right? I eat the foods that make my innate immune system work, right? And that's what I focus on doing. And that's what I try to bring out there to people. And that's the why. That's my why.
Yeah. And I like that you make it about not just you for the right now with your health, but then you also consider who you're buying from as well. Because that ties into a much, much bigger, your role in overall kind of how our whole society functions. Again, what Dr. Bobby is saying, the consumer is going to drive what is delivered. So the more the consumers want healthy and sustainable farming and healthy and sustainable food, the more that those farmers are going to be able to afford to do what they do, which is running these businesses that are very difficult to run, very labor intensive. But I watched this whole thing on the importance of the soil, and how the soil is drives so much of what's happening with the heat and global warming and the biodiversity in the soil and crop rotation and adding, the animals onto there, and just all of it. And what they can see with these studies from NASA, coming in from looking at the heat of the earth. And I mean, it was crazy, the importance of soil preservation.
Yep.
And so supporting farmers that support soil preservation is it's so important for now and later.
Well, that's one of the only things that's going to pull us out of this.
Yep.
If people make the shift to going towards to growers, ranchers, farmers that are doing this hugely important job, we're, like you say, we're going to keep driving that industry. We're going to keep on creating the demand, which you're going to bring more and more people into it. There's a wonderful documentary out there, if you don't mind me mentioning it.
Yep.
It's called Kiss the Ground. Okay. And it's on Netflix. Have you ever seen it? And it's all about soil restoration.
Yep.
And
I've seen it.
Interesting.
yeah, it's
really good.
Yeah, it's Woody Harrelson narrates it. And I just highly recommend it because it makes so much sense. You get these two farmers out there driving around the country, educating other farmers on, agricultural practices and restorative and regenerative agricultural practices. And, like you were saying, the heat studies that they're showing where farms are using this type of soil restoration. And then, our soil, our topsoil is 60% gone now, guys.
It is.
It's not there anymore. So what we're growing in the foods and what, these industrial farms are doing, they're poisoning the soil, they're poisoning humanity, and it's creating it's adding to the, the detriment of climate change, and I think that this is a huge, huge, huge step if we can convince people to take care of yourself, take care of your foods, take care of the planet, get these kids, learning this and preaching this, and we're going to have a shot out there.
One of the things Dr. Jess and I love to do is we love to garden during the summer. Obviously, Jess can do it longer down in Florida than I can do it here in Chicago.
I go year round, yeah.
And we can use the rainwater, we can use organic seeds, but the soil is a big part of it. And but it is one step that we try to do to provide good, healthy food for us and our families.
Yeah, it's important. And it's, you've got to be the voice, keep them convincing. It's not as unusual as it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago, or certainly 40 years ago, it's, and if you go beyond that, it was the way it was, right? Yes. It was when the Industrial Revolution came in and these food growers came in, that's when the shift was like 50, 60 years ago. Prior to that, we're trying to just get back to that, eating foods that were grown off of. Soils weren't denatured back then. Soils were still good then. It was with the coming of, industrial farming that's changed a lot of stuff. So
I do think it does all tie together, because when we think about, trying to find that balance, striking the balance between, time that you're spending on you, time that you're giving towards others, whether it's, raising your family or work or, any partner or friendships, you have in your life, you're trying to constantly balance all of these cups. And so, when we think about nutrition, it's one of those that it's kind of, our society has made it very easy to not cook with whole foods. It's so readily available to buy prepackaged stuff, to run through a fast food line, order takeout, it delivers right to your door. It's so easy. And so when you take a step back and you think more about the why, so things that are the easiest usually aren't necessarily what's best for us. That's just in general, right? So I think when we say, okay, what's my why in this, then now we can start to think about what do those changes look like. And I have a lot of, I work with patients all day. A lot of people say, I don't have time to cook. I don't have time to meal prep. And the one thing I typically come back with is, then you're going to have to take time. You're going to have to make time for illness. So, because it will come, that's just how it happens. Our bodies are not meant to function on all of this pre-processed stuff. It's not serving your organs, your nervous system, your musculoskeletal system, your endocrine system. It's not serving any of your systems at the level that they need. And so either make time for illness at some point, or find a way that you can implement some sort of healthier habits with food intake.
Yeah.
For me, I meal prep because I do have a family. I work during the day. We've got the routine at night. So for me, I meal prep on the weekends. So then it's way easier. I'm not going to be sitting there chopping all these fresh veggies like in the evening while I'm like, hey, do we have homework done? Do we have this? Is bath time going? It's you're going to burn your food before you eat it. So I get that. Other people really enjoy that, in the evening, kind of chopping, getting some stuff going. They enjoy that time. Maybe them and their partner are talking over meal prep time. It's a way for them to debrief their day. That's the way they connect. That's fine. But using food as a way to connect with others is how you incorporate it into your week, right? So like I can have my kiddos help me with some of the meal prep. We go out to the garden, we harvest together, we bring it in. You know, we've got little kid knives, not my knives. So there's ways that you can actually incorporate lifestyle with community, with supporting you and supporting for the future. But it is something that has to be talked about, because it's like typically nobody's going to, like, when you do your yearly visit, are they going to say, are you eating organic? And, you know, making sure that you're trying to, you know, eat the rainbow, get a nutritious diet in daily, not once a week. It's just not how our medical system is going to necessarily advise. They're going to wait until your blood sugar is high. They're going to wait until your weight is too high. They're going to wait until a problem arises, and now we're going to have to play catch up.
It's not healthcare, it's disease care.
It is disease care.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where it's at. And you know, if you don't mind me stepping in, you know, the good news is, okay, about this is, you know, you said there are places to go now and get foods short time. There are restaurants out there right now that are feeding organic and feeding restored soils. There are these places, and we don't, you know, there's even meal prep, you know, those they send you boxes and
they'll send it to you, like, and it's good.
It's there. You can make those choices. You know, there's you know, it's more expensive, but you know, people say, well, I can't afford that. Well, I mean, could you afford your prescriptions? You know, I mean, what you pay for your food or you pay for your medicine, you know? And then if you make your food your medicine, you're doing the same thing, you know? I'm 70 years old, okay? I've never been on a prescription medication in my life, okay? I never planned to be on a prescription medication in my life. I live because you know, I live a very, very healthy lifestyle. And believe me, you know, at 70 now, when I was doing this back in the 70s and the 80s, you know, people looked at me like I had you know, 3 heads, you know, I mean, it was ridiculous, the pushback that I would get. And I still get it some, but way, 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 way less, you know, well, all I have to do is tell people I'm 70 and then they believe me, you know, they take care of myself, you know, so it's, you know, it shows out there. And, you know, guys, I want to share with you too. I'm really proud about this. We just developed a Master of Science in Anti-Inflammatory Nutrition degree, okay? And it was just approved by our accreditor last week. And we will begin to start marketing this, you know, next week, you know, in the first of the year. And we are going to start, you know, moving out to physical therapists, you know, chiropractors, people, you know, people who are already touching people. And it's a, you know, it's a fully online program, and it teaches these principles that we're talking about, right? And it's really, really important stuff for the docs and the PTs and everybody who touches people in healthcare has to have this basis of knowledge that food is medicine, you know? And if we can make that, you know, just dynamic shift out there, we're going to see, well, you know, your kids are going to benefit from it. My kids are benefiting from it, you know, and they're going to be able to go out there. Now we got to get the patients, you know, we got to get you know, more and more docs, more and more PTs, more and more, you know, people who are touching people to get on board, you know, get yourself healthy, get your patients healthy.
It's I never realized how much food, because food was never of an importance of my family growing up, like, you know, healthy and all of that. It's something I've learned as I've gotten older. And so I would say about, oh goodness, 9 years ago, it's crazy to think that it's almost 10 years ago. I was having just significant headaches, not sleeping, tired. I felt very nauseous if I didn't eat. And the moment I ate, I felt nauseous and like felt like I was going to throw up. And it was just like, I didn't know what to do. And so I then went to Whole30. I'm sure you've heard of Whole30 before. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try something. Like, I got to reset my system. And I did it for 5 weeks, and it was absolutely amazing. The first 2 weeks were a little rough as my body went through the detox of everything. But during that time, like after that, I had no headaches. I slept through the night. My anxiety and like was way down. And food tasted different to me. When I went back to try something that I used to eat, it would be like so sweet. I'd be like, oh, I can't eat this, or oh, I can't have it. And it just amazed me how much food really does affect our bodies. And then recently, this past weekend, for Christmas Eve, we did, my little one can't have dairy. So I have not been eating dairy for almost 5-6 months now. And we're trying to add a little bit back in just to see if it's a permanent allergy, if it's just a sensitivity thing while she's growing. And so I had some dairy on Christmas Eve, and all that night I was throwing up, and it wasn't because of drinking too much. It wasn't because it was just my body can't tolerate that dairy after not having it for so long. So it's amazing just when we take that stuff out, how much better we feel too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people think that's, people have a hard time believing that.
Yes.
They gotta
Yeah.
try. They just do. Oh, get out of here. You're gonna eat some sugar and you're gonna get sick. What's wrong with you? You must be sick.
My family, everyone gave me a hard time. They're like, you sure you didn't have too much wine? I was like, I had 2 glasses over 6 hours. Like, it's not because I had too much wine. Like, everything I ate was full of butter, dairy, cheese. And I was like, my body hasn't had that in so long.
Yeah, there you go. Well, yeah. Well, it's just really important. This is I'm happy. I had no idea what this was about. This podcast was going to be about. I knew it was going to be about health, but I'm really happy that you guys are doing this and you're taking the mantle. Young women right now are going to be the leaders, and if we can get moms to understand, like you two understand the importance, of food, we're going to make a big shift out there. And keep up the great work, ladies.
Yeah. Well, and we appreciate having people come on that are also, have a similar perspective, but might have, a different background. And so it's it's not just us saying this, right? There's other people out there as well that, we call it drinking the Kool-Aid,
Yeah.
so it's not that we actually drink Kool-Aid, but just
organic, sugar-free.
There we go. Absolutely. Yeah. Infused water. We're all drinking the infused water. So Dr. Patrick, I really appreciate your perspective. I appreciate you sharing about, your background and your profession, because it was one that we didn't really know all that much about. And so it's a perfect way to be able to kind of highlight the different professionals that are out there that are available to us to be able to help with our health. And so instead of it being disease management, health management. And so that's a big part of, the clinic, that I run, the clinic that Dr. Bobby runs. It's let's not just wait until there's an injury. What if we actually get you ready for whatever's coming up? So what if we have a better experience with that? There's other things included. Nutrition is one of the things that is worth a very big part of the conversation, with really getting you feeling how you want to feel, with goals and just how you show up in the world. It's hugely beneficial. So stay tuned. We've got more coming up in 2024. In the month of January, we're still going to be working on just our subtopics within goal setting. And then in February, we'll move a little bit more into exercise and getting a bit more nitty gritty into exercise. So, all right, everybody.